Hey everybody, it is Kevin here, Marketing Director for Stamp Anniething, and today I'm going to be introducing you to the London Skies stencil. Yep, I can say that word. So this is the London Skies 2-layered stencil that has just come out with You Are Such a Darling stamp set, which is our Peter Pan themed stamp release that is out now. So what I wanted to do for you is I want to show you how you can use this 2-layer stencil, use it with a few different colors, and use it on a dark cardstock. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do a little technique, kind of show you what you can do with your stencils and how you can use them. So I picked out some Distress Oxides because I'm going to be using Distress Oxides, and I'm also going to be using some pigment ink, and I might even be using some clear embossing powder. So we're going to try something fun and try something different and see how that works. So what I did is I did try this on black, and I will show you that as well. But what I wanted to do is try it on a dark navy because I wanted to kind of recreate this scene as closely to kind of like what the Disney movie is and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of keep in those same colors with a little elements of fun and added color in there. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to place my first stencil down. So it's going to be my Peter Pan silhouette with the stars and some buildings in the background. So we do have these little holes to use in if you're using this Sizzix stamping and stencil platform. But what I did is I used some of the universal stencil converters just to extend it down a little bit further. And I've cut a piece of cardstock to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I'll be able to cut that up at the bottom when I am all finished. Now, what I want to do is secure this down. So I'm going to use some washi tape because right now I just don't want anything to be moving on me or shifting. So it's important that I get everything nice and stable. So I'm going to put this piece at the top. I'm going to put a piece right at the bottom. And when I put it at the bottom here too, I'm going to try and make sure that I do have this stencil kind of pulled taut or tight. Because I just don't really want anything moving around. I don't want the colors bleeding through underneath. I'm going to say typically with our stencils, they don't. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be repeating how many times I put the ink down over the stencil. And we'll go over why. All right, so do you know what? I'm just going to be super duper extra careful. And I hope you're okay that this is going to be it's a full-length video today. So this is not live, but this is exactly the process I'm doing. We're not speeding anything up. And just so you can see exactly what is going to happen here. And you'll learn a little bit more about our stencil material as well. Some things that you may have not known previously. All right. So what we're going to do first is I can't even speak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stencil in my background buildings first. Because this star is pretty close and I want to make sure that the light color goes over top of the dark. So what happens is if I accidentally put this color on after and I smear it up into here, it'll go over the light color I already did. But we will be able to put the light color over the dark if I accidentally get that over here. And it'll make probably more sense once I get started. So for my background buildings, I'm going to be using Mermaid Lagoon and Salty Ocean. So these are my two colors. And up here in the corner, it's a little off camera, but I have our little sticky mat. And I am going to put my Distress Oxide right there. I am going to get my little brush that is designated for my oxides. And I just want to let you know that on hand I have a bunch of paper towels. I've got some rubbing alcohol, which I don't always recommend to clean stencils with. However, I want everything to be quick and easy for me during this process, and it won't hurt these stencils at all, to be quite honest. So the Mermaid Lagoon, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink that up. And oh, look, I'm going to shake the camera in the process, so I apologize for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this color down first. And what I'm going to tell you right now is you are going to need to, when you're going on darker paper, you're going to need a lot of that ink to saturate in the paper. So you want to really get it in there. So I'm going to let you know right now, this process, when you're using Distress Oxides on a darker background, is going to be a little bit more time consuming. But I thought, you know what, I might as well just show you what's going on. So now what I'm doing right now is I'm putting on just the first layer of Distress Oxide in this Mermaid Lagoon. So right now I'm just trying to make sure that I have the paper saturated, because the paper, the cardstock, is going to absorb some of that Distress Oxide ink. So once I'm kind of fairly certain I got my base layer on, at least this section, I'm going to move on and we're going to let that dry. So what's going to happen is as that dries, it's going to absorb some of that color and it's going to fill in all those little microscopic, I'm going to call them holes in the paper. But you just have to imagine that this paper is your cardstock can still absorb some of that liquid a little bit that is in the hybrid inks. So once it does that, it'll start to kind of create a little bit of a barrier. So once you have that first layer down as a barrier, as you re-ink over top, you're going to find that is going to become a more vibrant color that you can see and more easily distinguish on your paper. Now, here is the one thing that some people may not know about our stencils. So our stencils are cut with a laser. A laser is extremely high heat. That is why I can feel safe and confident using a heat tool on my stencil while it's still down, because I want to make sure some of that is dried right now, just so I can make sure I can go on to my, better make sure you can hear me. I just want to make sure that I can go on to my next layer. So I want to make sure this is dry first. And for those of you who know, these get quite hot, and you can see my stencil's perfectly fine. Now I did try this earlier, and I did use this heat tool. I have to say I found that I'm just gonna ignore what the brand is, but I did find that it wasn't heating as evenly as I'd like to, nor as fast as I wanted to, and I thought for this video, do you know what? Let's keep it as concise as we can with the amount of detail that we're going to need for this. But yeah, so I went with the stronger heat tool. It does not mean you need to. So I'm going in with that Mermaid Lagoon again, and I'm going to be adding now my second layer. Now, there are a few ways of doing this. You can also start with a white layer if you wanted to. So what that would involve is you using a white pigment ink, or I've also seen it done with liquid latex paint, or that tempera paint, I think it is. And then you can put that on your stencil as your first layer. And that will also help it absorb, but right now I found personally that just going with the color you are using anyway and building it up works just as well as starting with a white background. I guess if you were trying to maybe save your oxide inks, or were just a little bit wanting to be sparing with them, then maybe you could use white, but that I find that you're just using another ink. So I've got that second layer of color on there, and I'm gonna call it quick dry it up. And basically what I'm looking for when I am drying it is just to make sure that that sheen is gone away. And I apologize, I keep on bumping this camera. I'll figure out a better setup. Okay, you can also kind of see just there how close I actually got with that heat tool. And again, if you know how hot these are, you know that they're really hot. And you can see my stencil is completely intact as well. It's still just as easy to clean. And again, I have like practiced this before, so I'm confident in the fact that these will clean really well. So now, why am I using Distress ink, or the Distress Oxide, and not just the Distress ink? Well, it's because if you put just normal Distress ink on a darker paper, it tends to just absorb and completely disappear like nothing's there. So these Distress inks really come in super handy. So again, if you guys are watching this video, I truly appreciate you hanging out with me. Let me know in the comments too if you have tried this technique before. I would love to know. So you can see here, I think I am pretty happy with my layer, and I have a piece of cardstock to compare it to. So I know that color is definitely deep enough now, or saturated enough, because this is my base paper. And if I just do a side-by-side comparison, I know that we are doing good, and that color is there, and I'll be able to see it when it's finished. All right, now we are going to move on to that salty ocean color I mentioned earlier. So I'm just going to take my same oxide brush, and I'm just going to wipe off the excess ink onto a paper towel until most of that ink that was used for here is off. And then I'm just going to reuse the same brush in the salty ocean, which I have right over here. So salty ocean. So this is just kind of an extra added step, and I just wanted just for these buildings to have a little bit more depth and maybe just a little more color to them, and maybe they got a little bit of highlight coming down from the sky. Maybe the stars are twinkling pretty bright. So I'm just adding just a little bit. And then I'm just going to just kind of softly blend across. And there I have my first layer all complete and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to spray a tiny bit of rubbing alcohol onto a paper towel, and I'm going to get it away from these stars because I want to make sure when I put the color I want for my stars on there, I don't really want it to mix with this blue. Now, I don't know if you can see, but that little star here does have a tiny bit of blue in it, so I accidentally got some on there. And that is okay, because our next color will be going right over top of it. So my next color that I'm using is by Hero Arts. It is their Unicorn White. So I chose this color because I tested out a few whites on the paper with the pigment ink, and I found that this white seemed to be the brightest for my needs. Now this white, we know that is going to show up on our stencil. So I don't need to worry about putting layer upon layer upon layer of this on here. But what I'm doing is I'm just putting the white on the circular stars because I want to have a bit more color to this background as well. And I'm using these tiny little detail brushes, as you can see. And here, just kind of tapping that color in through my stencil. If I think I hit the blue, I'm going to wipe it off. And what I will do is I will probably just give this a quick dry, and I will probably add a second layer only because I want it to be quite bright. So I'm just going over all these, and you can see again, it's a detailed stencil when you get down to it, and when you decide to separate colors like this. So you do want to have a bit of patience with it. But I think it's part of the fun. And in the end, I guess you just got to think like, hey, it's a relaxing process. It's maybe a technique I haven't done before. And maybe you're making this card for someone special, or maybe it's not a card. Maybe you're using this in a art journal or a bullet journal just to decorate a page. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly move my ink aside. I am going to give that top part here a quick little dry. And I'm going to add my second layer. I'm just going to make sure this is all stuck back down. And you know what? Let's try and be a little bit more methodical to make sure I get everyone. So we'll just kind of go up and down. Yeah, you can definitely tell on a second pass too that, again, because this ink, it is going to absorb a little bit into the paper as well, even the white. So you do want to make sure that probably that you do a second coat. Did anybody else know this is going to be the longest stenciling video you've ever seen on a Stamp Anything channel? Oh, here you go. All right, I think I am good with that white in there now. Am I good with that white? Yes, I think I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry it again. I'm actually going to just move it off camera just for a second here, just to make it a little easier on me. All right, I think we're good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my paper towel and just around my white star, or my stars that are not yet filled in, I'm just going to make sure there's not too much white too close to them. There we go. Because now here I am going to use our squeezed lemonade for the remaining stars that actually have shapes. So I'm going to use that Distress Oxide squeezed lemonade. Hopefully you guys aren't sick of me yet. But you know what? It's all about the reveal in the end. That's the fun part. That's the one thing when you do use the heat tool, your washi tape might lift. And because you're using hot air and there's airflow, it may lift your stencil a bit, like I'm sure you saw in the video, that sometimes it would kind of like lift up a bit. So you just gotta make sure you put it back down. And of course, you want to be very careful with your heat tools. You don't want to burn yourself. And there is still the chance, like if you held the heat tool on this, like yes, this will eventually melt the plastic. So we don't want to do that. But oops, see, I got a little into that silhouette, but that's okay. Again, it's going to be covered. Now, obviously, you could do this all one color solid if you wanted and just do this layer. You could add the other layer and do another lighter color. I've chosen the difficult way. And I really just wanted to show you guys like what it looked like using Distress Oxides on dark cardstock. Because some people have tried it and had success and other people have not. So I'm going to show you an example in the end. I did use mustard seed for my yellow and my stars, and I had used a blue for the stars as well. And so what I've kind of determined is that the lighter color you go, the better it's going to be. You're going to just get that pop that you really want. So you can see I'm just kind of going over all my stars again. And you know what? I'm going to give them a third layer. And if you want to fast forward for any of these parts, I don't blame you. I've got ADHD, so sometimes I definitely understand it. Sometimes it's just like, it's not quick enough. I need to process the information faster or I'm bored. Don't just anything to distract me, so hurry up. Or you could just increase the speed. Watch me at 2 times speed. All right, I'm gonna say we're good for that layer. That is our yellow star layer, so I'm gonna dry those up. I'm gonna take it off camera again. And we're back. All right. Now we are going to use our next colors, which are Mowed Lawn and then Twisted Citron. So, yeah, I'm going to choose a nice little brush. So now we're going to put Peter's silhouette, and I decided, yes, our silhouette's green. No, but I thought I might as well make it iconic, right? Try and fit the theme, the color a bit. So again, here I am just tapping that color into place where I want to set that down, because we need that base layer of color. And again, if you wanted to, you could have wiped off the stencil a little bit. So I'm going to dry that a little bit real quick. So that is my first layer of green in there, that Mowed Lawn. Now we're going to put our next layer, and as I put this next layer, you can already tell that it is starting to brighten up and the color is becoming more true. And I am kind of tapping it in as opposed to blending it in here, just to make sure I don't accidentally push some of that color underneath this stencil where I don't want it to be. And I'm going to hope this is our final layer of the Mowed Lawn here. You can actually feel the heat kind of coming off this still. There we go. Oh, and I just shifted the whole stencil. That's okay. I am going to show you our next little trick now. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to lift up that stencil, and look at that. We've got a pretty awesome looking background so far. But here's what I'm going to do now. I am going to make sure this is nice and dry. All right, I'm going to say that is dry enough right now. So momentarily, I'm just going to take my stencil over here real quick, and I am going to clean it off because I am not quite done with it yet. So we're going to do a quick off-camera clean here. Chat amongst yourselves. Make sure that you have liked this video, commented on this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the Stamp Anything channel. We appreciate it quite a bit. And all your comments and everything kind of help the algorithm to get us out there. Share the love of Stamp Anything. And don't gatekeep us. I kind of learned that word recently. Can't remember what from. Show us their love. All right. I think I've got my stencil clean enough for what I want to do. All right, so what are we doing? We are putting our stencil back on right where we had it. And I'm going to, okay, so maybe the stencil became a little tiny bit warped by all that heat. So maybe be careful, don't put it quite as close as I did. But I am also trying to film and I have the camera quite close. So here, just going to do this real quick. All right, what am I doing next? I'm going to go really quickly back in with that mowed lawn. Just a quick little dab, 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 dab. Just really quick. It will become clear in a moment. And now I'm going to hit it with a little bit of Twisted Citron. Right there. We're going to lift off our stencil. We're going to lift this off. I'm going to grab my clear embossing powder. And I'm going to attempt to put it on my Peter Pan. So I'm trying to get it pretty much just on Peter. Looks like it might be getting a little bit on there too. But we'll see how dry it was and if I did a good job when I kind of shake this off. So I'm just going to kind of pull it over here to me on screen. Off screen, sorry, is what I meant to say. All right. It worked. Didn't really touch the other stars, at least I hope. So now we're going to heat emboss that. And ta-da! There we have a awesome shiny Peter Pan. Ta-da! Isn't that cool? But no, we're not done yet. We're going to throw Peter back up on this platform. And it is time for our second stencil, which of course has our Big Ben in it. So we're going to put it right over here. Make sure it's all lined up. Do I have it lined up properly? Nope. A little bit high. Try that. I think we are over just a tiny. Yeah, do you know what? Are we okay? Yeah, I guess. You know what? I'm gonna say we're okay. Oh wait, actually, hold on. You'll know it's okay if you're touching the stars or not. So no, I need to move it over a little bit more. Actually, see, look, we can just figure this out together. It will tell us where it needs to be. Get that taped up at the top. So that goes there. Oh wait, can I pull this down? That's the bottom of your card. There we go. I think I found it. I just lined it up on the outside edges, so it should be lined up exactly where everything should be now. So now I can tape my sides down, and we can add our last color. Now too, if you wanted to, you could have just completely gone over the whole image with a water, You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the Versamark ink for heat embossing. So you could have done that over the whole thing and just made everything shiny, but because I'm putting a second layer, I didn't really want to do that. So now I'm going in with my last two colors, which is, I'm actually using Black Soot and I'm using Stormy Sky. Because I wanted these to be darker buildings to the front with the lighter buildings in the back. Plus, it's going to make sure that these other buildings get covered where I want them to be covered. So I'm just going to make sure that this is kind of really stuck down right now. I don't want anything moving or shifting. And if I find sometimes I think I can be a little aggressive. So there we go. So Black Soot is going on. So I'm using my bigger ink brush now. Sorry, I apologize. I'm just shaking the camera today all over. And again, in the end, I'm going to trim down the sides of this so that I don't have to worry that I've gone over my stencil pieces. And there's one good thing about black. One coat is probably enough. If you want to do two, you can. At the same time, if you wanted to, you could have used this stencil first. And then all you'd want to do is not go over these buildings when you do this top layer. So if you already had this stenciled and you wanted to see the bottom of the Big Ben, like the clock tower, you could leave that out, or you could cover up and have it more that it's in the distance. But I've decided I wanted this to be all in the foreground. And I'm going to be gentle here. I really want that ink to be on that brush because I really just want to tap it in here. These are very thin lines, so I am going to worry about accidentally shifting color underneath them. So now you can see there's a little bit of that blue left too. So yeah, we're going to definitely do a second coating. I'm going to give that a quick little dry. So again, I'm trying to go as quick as I can just to make this video not totally cringy because it's too long. But I think it's going to turn out really awesome in the end, and hopefully you're learning something and maybe you'll try it out. And I could see that, yeah, my blue was definitely showing through here, which I don't really want. I really want that blue to be covered so that these buildings do seem very separate from each other. So I'm going to give that a second. So do you know what? I lied. Maybe we're doing 3 coats with black too. I'm going to pull this off screen for a minute. There we go. And we're going to go in with our final black layer. I'm really hoping this looks super, super cool. Really, 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 really hoping. As you can see, I am really just making sure I get that ink really, really well in there. And I'm going to do one little bit more dry. All right. I am okay with that black for right now. Now I have my stormy sky up next. I'm going to grab one of the little detail brushes. I'm going to kind of rub that off a bit. And on this too, I'm just kind of giving just a light little bit of highlight into those corners a bit. Just a tiny bit. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to just go over what I just did. I'm just going to tamp up that extra ink that I'm calling my highlight one. And we're going to pull this off, and we're not quite done yet, but almost. Look at how cool this is looking. Super, super cool. So I'm just taking all my tape off real quick. You will see what a weirdness I have in store. So I'm just kind of cleaning this off camera, so I apologize. This is called like, don't do this at home, because you want to make sure your stencils are nice and clean. However, for this technique, you might want to just make sure that we're working at a good pace. All right, so what am I going to do? I'm just going to stick this right back on here. I'm not going to tape it all down or anything like that. I'm going to go in one more time with my black. Should be good. Still a little bit of that highlight left. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to get this out of the way. We are going to put that clear now onto our clock tower. So I didn't want it on the whole thing. I just kind of wanted it on the clock tower. And we'll see if I put enough. I may not have put enough black ink, but then again, maybe I did. All right, so it does look like I got a little bit on the side because it wasn't dry yet. So I'm going to kind of zhuzh that off a bit. All right, and we're going to heat that up. Okay, you can't kind of tell me it's not kind of pretty cool. Now we have a nice and shiny clock tower with a shiny little silhouette of Peter Pan. Of course, you can make any of it shiny if you want to. And that's just the way I chose to do it this time. Now, let's see if I can find you my first attempt. Here it is. So here's what I did the first time. So I used more muted colors and I did it on black. I decided to go ahead and do all the stars and everything in clear embossing powder. This time I was like, no, I'll leave them and just kind of highlight him and the clock tower. But again, if I wanted to, because the stencil is going to go right back in the same place. So if you wanted to, you could take your stencil, which I seem to have no idea where I put it. I don't know where I put my stencil, but basically you could put it right back over top if you wanted, line it up, put your black, or you just use the Versamark or whatever you want to use and do that as well. But that is our London Skies stencil that goes out with our newest release, which is You Are Such a Darling. So I hope you maybe learned something today. If you did, let me know in the comments. If you've tried a different technique, again, let me know. Oh, and I should tell you, this one here is where I did start with a white base first. So I actually just started with the white pigment ink and then went over top of it. And then I was kind of like, no, you know what? I don't think I need to do that. I can just layer up the color. And you can see here that definitely if you just layer the colors on top of each other, you're not going to really have a problem. So there it is. And there is my video. Make sure to like and hit that thumbs up button and comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. And remember to stamp it, color it, and love it. Thanks everybody. And thanks for watching.